All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Let me just first thank you guys for being here last night. Appreciate the state team that we've had out on the ground. Obviously, Colonel Wright's with us, Director Stallings, Lieutenant Governor Jones, Speaker Burns, and Representative Crow with us this morning. We got a lot of updates for you. Director Stallings will probably give you the meat of this and more details than I will, but I just want to give a quick overview. We know we've had multiple tornadoes across the state. The damage is, literally statewide in different places. This storm moved all across our state. Unfortunately, it's been a tragic night and morning in our state. We know we've lost 2 fatalities. We can confirm one of those is a state employee that was responding to storm damage. We'll have more details on that later in the day. And then obviously, the tragic loss of something has been reported, a 5-year-old that was killed by a falling tree on a vehicle. To the best of my knowledge, I know Director Stallings can give you more details. That was obviously in the representative and lieutenant governor's local community. I'd like to just ask all Georgians to keep those that have experienced loss in their thoughts and prayers, as the Kemp family and the rest of us will do. But also continue to pray for all of our first responders. We got a lot of state workers out there in dangerous situations, a lot of our private utility partners and others that are trying to restore power. It's a very dangerous environment, certainly last night and still is today. We literally have teams responding all over the state where there is damage. We've got the Georgia Emergency Management Agency. Obviously, the operations center is up and running and has been. Was last night. We got our teams out helping and assessing. Obviously, Colonel Wright, the Department of Public Safety, State Patrol, all their resources are out. They've done everything to help with traffic control, to get power companies to down lines, to getting kids home from school yesterday. We've also got DNR, Department of Natural Resources, and forestry chainsaw teams out across the state. Lots of roads blocked that are preventing crews from restoring power. So we ask everybody to be patient. We got every resource that we can possibly put on the ground. It's just going to take us a while because it's dangerous work and there's a lot of it to do. And then lastly, obviously DOT's out as well, doing the exact same thing, continuing to monitor traffic and other hot spots around the state. The Lieutenant Governor and the Speaker and I will be leaving shortly to take a helicopter tour of the damage. We are not going to go on the ground today because we do not want to disrupt the many operations that we have going on. Today is not the time for us to be pulling people off of clearing roads and still getting the individuals that potentially are missing out there. We're going to allow those folks to continue to do their work, but we will assess the damage from the air, and Director Stallings can talk a little bit more about what they're doing from the ground. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Colonel Wright for just a brief update, and then Director Stallings will come up and close us out, and we'll be glad to answer a few questions. Colonel.
Good morning, everyone. Obviously, we've been heavily involved in this situation since the very beginning last night. We've been assisting GEMA with law enforcement resource requests that have been coming in. We overnight, we helped transport students who were trapped at a middle school, trying to get them reunited with their parents. Those that we were unable to get reunited with their parents, we took them to the local Board of Education. We had troopers sit with them until we could get them reunited with their families. Overnight, we also brought in an RRT team from South Georgia. They helped with patrolling the streets to prevent any kind of looting, helping get power crews wherever they needed to get to. And we'll do the same tonight. We'll have that same resource overnight. We brought in additional resources for the early and the late shift. We have about 26 troopers and motor carrier officers that are on the ground now in Spalding County who are assisting Spalding County with all of their disaster recovery. Aviation has also been up helping the counties do damage assessment and reconnaissance missions this morning. And obviously DPS has committed any resource that we have, and we will obviously help and be with the counties and the locals until this is completed. So thank you.
Well, we'll let y'all hear from Director Stallings.
Excuse me. Thank you, Governor. Yesterday around 3 o'clock, we saw our first rotation develop on radar in Troup County. From that point all afternoon, we continued to see rotations develop. We have 4 confirmed tornado tracks as of right now in our state. Those areas hardest hit, as NWS described it, as a rapidly intense storm hit Spalding County. So if you're in that area today, we would ask you, stay where you are. There are teams that are still trying to cut through the debris. We have a lot of roads that are still inaccessible. We want to make sure our power companies and our cut teams can get there. Overnight, DNR, Forestry Commission have been out doing their job. It's been extremely impressive to see how much they've been able to accomplish in just such a short amount of time. As the governor mentioned, we do have a couple fatalities, and that is a result of debris falling. But just because the storm has passed, don't be shocked to find out that more trees are going to come down. Limbs are going to break loose. There's still some wind and a front moving through. So anything that's loose will still fall. As the governor mentioned, we have widespread damage statewide. So if you do have damage, make sure you're in contact with your local emergency management agency. They're going to be who helps you respond to that damage. They're going to take those calls. They'll start reporting that up so that we can be doing assessments. Our teams are out statewide doing assessments today, trying to determine what that damage does total up to. The National Weather Service is also conducting track investigations to determine the intensity of the storms that we saw yesterday, as well as the length of time that those were on the ground. We've got some reports that the one in Spalding County was on the ground for quite a long period of time, and at some points even as high as 5 miles wide. So it was an extremely powerful storm. And so I would just tell you today, be patient with us. We're doing the best we can inside the circumstances that we're working in, and we will get to you and help recover things as quickly as possible. If you're in those hardest hit areas, though, and you don't have power, don't expect it to be back on quickly, but do not go outside and start messing with down lines. Unfortunately, we have 2 fatalities already. We do not need to add to that because we have folks that are untrained trying to assist. We appreciate all that you're doing out there. Again, our state agencies, we couldn't do this without them. And with that, Governor, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, we'll open it up for questions.
Lieutenant Governor, can you talk about the nature of the damage or what you know that's happened back in Butts County, Jackson area?
Well, the damage is significant. You know, talking to people on the ground there, you know, obviously our thoughts and prayers are with the family, the young child who was killed, you know, earlier this morning. But the damage is significant. But thanks to Governor Kemp's leadership and our team, men and women from DOT to GSP to, you know, all emergency responders are trying to help the locals and assist and assess and everything. And so I will, after, you know, when I get the opportunity to do a fly around, but also have an opportunity to go home myself and assess it firsthand. But according to people on the ground there, it's pretty significant.
Yeah. Can you talk some more about the public employee who died and what the circumstances were?
Yeah, I don't know that we want to say a whole lot right now. I'm not 100% positive. Next kin has been notified, so I'd rather delay and just we'll update you as soon as we got more information, unless you got something else. Okay.
Are we able to say what agency? Or you can share the word on that as well?
We can say
that. Yeah. DOT. Okay. Anybody else?
What do you have, Dr. Stallings, is there any kind of injuries at this point?
Oh, yes, sir. There's widespread injuries. I mean, in Troup County alone, there's one subdivision with 50 homes where, there are 50 homes that have displaced individuals. Last night in Spalding, we had a shelter that sheltered 130 individuals. There's a lot of injuries. The fatality of the 5-year-old had a critically injured parent inside the vehicle with them that was transported. So there's a lot of debris. We've got families that seek shelter underneath their home, and then the home crumbled around them. So we had rescue teams out trying to dig homes off of folks. So we've got a lot of injuries. Unfortunately, that's one of those, but it sure beats the alternative. Fortunately, the 2 fatalities is all we have right now.
I know last night I was getting reports from the folks at Piedmont, Spalding, that they had, you know, over a dozen injured folks come into the hospital. Thankfully, None of those, I don't believe, turned into fatalities, but there's definitely some injuries out there. We know of people that were stranded in homes where literally the whole house collapsed and they were under the crawl space. And, we're trying to get to folks like that right now. Still have individuals that are unaccounted for that we got to figure out where they are. I mean, they could be, sheltering somewhere else, or they could be waiting to get cut out. So that's why we don't want to disrupt things on the ground today. We still have a lot of work to do.
Do you have an estimation of economic damage?
We wouldn't be able to tell that right now. That's a main priority of GEMA, certainly, but our first is life and safety issues and restoring power and those type things, necessities for people. So we'll do that, and then we'll assess the economic damage.
There was talk of the high school in Griffin had been hit. Is there any other notable public infrastructure that's been damaged?
Not significant. I mean, there's a lot of buildings that have lost roofs. There's a lot of those. Our school systems, roadways are the big issue right now. Just the straight line winds. Just because there wasn't a tornado in your area, the front of this storm was moving 50, 60, sometimes 75-mile-per-hour straight line winds. So that's toppling trees regardless of rotation. So a lot of the stuff is still, sun's coming up. We're getting assessments now.
And I think one of the things I was getting reports on last night, we had power lines down across roads that you couldn't get to that was, obviously damaging roads. I saw a media report this morning where a rail car had been blown off the tracks. So that's significant winds and tornado activity. So this is very strong storms, multiple, as I said earlier, that we're dealing with. It's going to take us a little while to fully assess when and where and, how much damage it was.
Governor, is there any thought about seeking federal assistance, federal emergency?
We'll certainly do that if we qualify. That's one of the things that Director Stallings, unfortunately, the GEMA team is well versed in. We'll absolutely do that if we meet the qualifications. But we'll keep you guys posted the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I figured you told them that, but